Hello friends, this is Jim with Science Talk. In this video I'm going to talk again about plastic. Plastic particles threaten to swamp the planet. Plastic particles are now present in every liter of water in the oceans and could be a threat to life as great as climate change. Rather strong statement. In a conference, the human rights activist Bianca Jagger, yes, the former wife of Rolling Stones frontman Mick Jagger, but she has done a lot of very good work being an activist for environmental issues among other causes. But she described in the conference how the substance, plastic, was basically invented in 1907, so it's about 110 years it's been around. It is practically indestructible and is now becoming an environmental catastrophe. The danger to marine life, highlighted recently by David Attenborough in his Blue Planet TV series, is only part of the problem, she goes on to say. Because fish, this is the important part right here, because fish ingest the microplastics and we eat the fish, then the plastics become embedded in our own bodies as well, and we do not know the health effects. You may be familiar with the concept of bioaccumulation. For example, if you take things like PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, or any of the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs that they're called. Let's say you have a phytoplankton doing their thing, they get a little bit of one of these organic compounds. A zooplankton eats phytoplankton. Well, zooplankton have lipid deposits for energy and that kind of thing. Well, a lot of these chemicals are fat soluble, meaning they dissolve in fat. So now, eating a bunch of plankton, the zooplankton concentrates the PAHs, the PCBs and so forth, and then a fish eats a whole bunch of zooplankton, and the fish accumulates and concentrates even more so, more of these compounds. And then maybe a larger fish eats the smaller fish, till finally humans eat that larger fish. What's happening is the concentration of PCBs, PAHs, what have you, increases per unit volume, per unit gram of body weight, however you want to measure it. With the result that if you may start out with, say, 1 part per billion that the phytoplankton are uptaking, to something like, by the time you get to the tertiary consumer, that you may have something on the order of, say, basically 1 part per million, a threefold increase, or maybe 10 parts per million. The point is, it's bioaccumulating. It's accumulating as we go up the trophic levels. Most of these things, these compounds, very rarely are excreted from the body. The liver, the kidneys may excrete some of it. Maybe, if the organism is lucky, up to 5%. But most of it stays in the body. As it's turning out, it's PAHs and PCB is turning out to be a big problem for Alaska natives living on the North Slope, the Inuits. They tend to eat marine mammals. Marine mammals have blubber, fat, and so forth. Marine mammals are predators. So they're eating these organisms, and the concentration is quite high in the Inuits' tissues. So now, in addition to organic compounds, we now have plastic compounds, which is really a form of organic compounds when you think about it. Basically, any compound that contains carbon is considered organic compound, with the exception of CO2 and CH4, carbon dioxide and methane. As I mentioned in previous videos, Plastic is derived from fossil fuels. About 8% of all refined oil goes into making plastics. The conference at which Ms. Jagger was talking was organized by the Artist Project Earth and the Royal Geographic Society. A study by Professor Edward Cozier basically recommended actions necessary to prevent the situation getting worse. He said that the problem was a long-lived material was manufactured for short-term use and then discarded. That's basically sums it up well. We made a product intending for short-term use, we throw it out, but the product persists. It does not break down in the environment. Professor Cozier said 72% of plastic packaging was not recovered. Not recovered. And at least 8 million tons leaked into the oceans every year from coastal cities and down large rivers. There are 150 million tons of plastic in the oceans already. And without significant human intervention to prevent it, the weight of plastic in the sea will be greater than the total weight of fish by 2050. I'll say that statement again. Unless methods are undertaken to prevent more plastics from entering the system, the weight of plastic in the sea will be greater than the total weight of fish by 2050. We're basically talking 32 years away. The problem of plastic entering the oceans was worse in Asia and Africa, where there are few collection and recovery systems. The worst countries at present were China, Indonesia, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Sri Lanka. In some cases, the garbage is simply heaped up on riverbanks, waiting for the next flood to wash it away. Although the problem of leakage into the seas is smaller in Europe and North America due to more sophisticated collection of trash, their contribution is still large. Among the solutions is stop the use of single-use plastics and find sustainable alternative materials like card, paper, vegetable products. Professor Cozier also suggested increasing the value of plastic in order to give an incentive to people to collect and recycle it so that waste could be reprocessed and reused. It's almost like in the old days of having the deposits on the glass bottles, right? The old soda bottles. You know, if you return the bottles, you got like a couple pennies or a nickel back for every bottle that you return. It's kind of like that idea. Professor Cozier gave as an example the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, acronym UNCLOS, adding that there were several others, but Article 194 of the UNCLOS requires states to prevent, reduce, and control pollution of the marine environment from any source. It should also be noted that dumping plastics is basically illegal under international law. This implies that action can be taken against states that do so, that violate this law. Small island states that are most affected by plastic waste piling up on their beaches could take on the large countries in the international courts and ask for compensation. Bianca Jagger concludes, we have already caused irreparable change to the planet, but hopefully there's still time to prevent the worst and save the planet for our children and grandchildren. Well, we need to act very quickly and now. As I mentioned in previous videos, just to show you what's happening, there was that juvenile male sperm whale that washed up off the coast of Spain with 65 pounds of plastic in its guts. It obviously starved to death, as well as it had a case of peritonitis due to the infection from having this material in its gastrointestinal tract. This is killing animals, and now if we are ingesting the microplastics in our own bodies, We do not yet know what the physiological consequences of having such materials in our body will be. My supposition is that it will not be good. As I was just preparing this report, I saw a report of an accidental find by scientists of bacteria that can actually break down plastics. So this is interesting. If they can verify this, they might be able to produce bacteria to go out there and start literally eating the plastic. It's kind of interesting how there are findings in science that are quite serendipitous in nature. Probably the best known example was Professor Fleming in 1926 with his discovery of penicillin, and which turned out to, as it was developed, took a while to develop it, but penicillin was used in World War II and helped save a lot of lives of a lot of soldiers then. But anyway, humans are doing great damage to the planet, be it plastic pollution, pollution in general, climate change, fouling air, water, soil, and our own bodies. We're doing irreparable damage, and humans need to act quickly to stop what we're doing and try and reverse what we're doing and mitigate the damage that's already being done. If you like this video, please share this video. Please subscribe, hit the bell. This way you will be notified whenever I upload a video. I hope you will consider going to patreon.com/Science Talk with Jim Massa and becoming a patron. If you're already a patron, I thank you for your support. Please tell others of my work, have them subscribe, and hopefully also become patrons. Thank you for your time.